Hello, 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 hello. There we go. All right, if you want to take your seats, so we'll start in about 30 seconds here. So, all right, that sounds about 30 seconds. So, all right, before we start, I'm just a little Cree boy living mostly in a Mohawk and Ojibwe world from Gitche Mesa Beniniwik. I've been seconded from ISC. Nah, just kidding. If you want to find the ISC folks, they have honorarium. The guy with the cowboy hat has your honorarium checks, so talk to him afterwards. I told you you should have sat down there, Pierre. No, I'd like to thank you all for kind of coming into our presentation, talking about integrated emergency services. My name is Mathew Hoppe. I'm the Tribal Council CEO, Independent First Nations Alliance. Born and raised Sulutko kind of thing from Big Trout Lake. And for all of you who don't know where Big Trout is, it's that flag right there with the fish and the yellow and the blue. That's where home is kind of thing. So it's nice to see the flags. To my left, I have Linda Debassige. Did I say that right? Thank you. And Colin French, where are you? Stand up there, bro. You gotta stand up there. That's the ECDEV guy. So normally would have had another guy here, Nicholas Rhone. He's our Director of Emergency Services. He's not available, taking care of literally fires back home kind of thing. So he sends his regrets. The capacity with the Zoom wasn't available to have him do it remotely, so please bear with me. So I'll try and make this kind of interactive, a little bit fun, but also talking about some serious stuff and kind of sharing a little bit of the story about IFNA, what we've done and what we've kind of accomplished, and to be honest, where it started. So how it started, right? I came on, joined IFNA about 5.5 years ago. Right, Colin? That's right. See, he's my yes man. And everyone needs a good yes man. And it was a 15-person tribal council, right? Typical small administrative group kind of thing. We're about 100 plus strong now in terms of a tribal council capacity and different partners, different relationships. And that's just not, that's a tribal council proper 100 people kind of thing. Different services, education, health, emergency services, governance, ECDEV, all those kind of typical things. But what's unique about IFNA is this integrated emergency services model and what we've accomplished. So I'll kind of just keep on moseying on here a little bit. So what makes IFNA a little bit unique too is the treaty areas. We got 4 different treaties we respond to and kind of work within. It's a bit unique compared to most tribal councils. They're more in a cluster. We are more spread out. So I don't have a pointer here, or do I? No, I don't. I would point here, but basically, we got Big Trout and Muskrat Dam, Treaty 9. Of course, Treaty 3, we got Lac Seul. Treaty 5, Pekanjigum. And of course, Robinson Superior, White Sand First Nation. I like to kind of show it to my boss there, Chief over there. He's from White Sand Boss. You can put your hand up if you want. There we go. Give that guy. There we go. Let's do it proper here. Those guys never get enough credit. Chief Lawrence Wanakamic. So thank you for coming and supporting me kind of thing. And of course, the work that we're doing at IFNA. That's right. Accountability at its best. So what started? Okay, when I started in IFNA a little while ago, I also started with a social emergency. And that was a 2019 fatal house fire of 5 people, mother and 4 kids kind of thing. And it was tragic. So I just happened to be in the home community visiting a house for my uncle's late 1-year memorial. And people are texting me, looking around for me at 5 a.m. Basically, there was a house fire and 5 people missing and burnt to the ground kind of thing. So where we started is that obviously with a number of people that were directly involved in that fire, it impacted the whole community, the operations of the tribal council, band office, almost shut down overnight. And tribal council back then, very small group of us, we kind of stepped in and just try and keep the ball rolling for a period of time. And what that really meant was, I'm sitting in the band office for like 8 days with chief and council and just going through all the stuff that's happening in terms of all that fallout kind of thing, resources, capacity, and it really opened my eyes about some of the challenges and gaps that exist out there. A lot of you are fully aware of what's going on. I got a first-hand look, and I'm kind of one of those happy but a goodies kind of thing, and really kind of hit me pretty hard kind of thing. As does most people when those horrible things happen. Yeah, a month and a half later, we have this thing called the Pekanjigum evacuation. Pekanjigum 1, we call it, and this happened in May of that year. Basically, it required Pekanjigum. For all you don't know what Pekanjigum is all about, there's about 4,000 people on reserve, 150 people off reserve. The strength of Pekanjigum is the language, the culture, and the youth. You know, over 40% of the population is like 25 and under, and it's just a huge kind of scale of growth and development and opportunity, but also has challenges too. So if you think about trying to move 3,500 people in a very short period of time, there are some tremendous challenges. And again, this is 2019, this is not 2023, this is back when we were 15, 20, 25-ish people kind of thing. We're just starting this kind of, whatever you want to call it, growth. So, I don't know, MTO folks, they're in here, and there's a wee little kind of space about this big in terms of a MTO airport and at the thing, and where do you put and how do you mobilize and how do you deal with evacuations of that scale, moving a whole bunch of people in a very short period of time under direct threat of forest fire? Well, what we did was we used the school as a like international airport, right, and the lobby. So what you don't see here is another 200 people behind the staircase off to the back. And this kind of flip chart is kind of like how we were tracking HERC 1, HERC 2, HERC 3, and Canadian Forces. The guys were there to help us out big time. Appreciate it. A round of applause for those guys, because, you know, they have a hell of a job. And they were there with us, helping us out, trying to figure out how do we deal with this massive problem. And when you think of remote First Nation, flying them all out, what was also very unique to Pikangikum was we kind of did the Navy Team SEAL 6, which was basically get them out by air, land, and sea. So even though Pikangikum is a remote First Nation, there is a ability to do a boat access to a site, and then from there taxi bay, and then jump on the road kind of thing, right? So it's a little bit unique. So we figured that stuff out. And this is kind of a snapshot of kind of like the meeting board we had on a daily basis that I was there for that period of time, updating the information. And for every person that's been in a meeting with the PIOC and the province and the feds, it's just a laundry list of meetings throughout the day, right, kind of thing. And this is kind of what we learned, is that we had to figure out how to do things on the fly, and we were just figuring out who's doing what, right? There wasn't this kind of integrated emergency services. It's a bunch of, I'll be honest, cowboys, wannabe Indians, just trying to figure out and help people kind of thing, right? So this is a reflection, and I don't know if you can see too well, but here's kind of the list of where the people are housed, the listing, and it was a growing number each and every day. Meeting schedule there, right here, dog feed list. And the big thing with that thing is what's also blessed in Pikangikum is lots of German Shepherds, lots of German Shepherds. So, you know, there was we had to not just take care of the people, get them safely out, but also, you know, take care of the animals left behind, those kind of things. So we kind of progressed and did that. Again, none of this was possible without the Hercules airlift, right, kind of thing. I never thought I would understand and see exactly how this thing worked, but I was there firsthand. And then everyone looks at the picture and they kind of go, oh yeah, it's just a bus of people coming out. But what they don't understand is that that plane's running the whole bloody time. And until you get right behind the aircraft, it's just like a windstorm right coming at you. So you're on a gravel airstrip, winds blowing everywhere, kids are there, you're trying to shepherd the kids because there's so many kids, right? You're not trying to make sure you don't go behind the aircraft. So it's a big job. Remember, we're doing this 7-8 times a day, you know? So I'm trying to really minimize, but also kind of reinforce some of the experiences and some of the realities. But, you know, it's not just jumping in a car and driving to north an hour or two kind of thing, right? This is a big operation. And what we figured out real quick and realized is that the community couldn't do it alone. Chief and council was busy dealing with inter-community stuff. And then you have the PIOC and the federal agencies and the groups, everyone trying to help in good nature, right? Who liaises with them? And what we did at IFNA is that we became that middle body, the communicator, external group there, just kind of being the middleman, just sharing. And really, it evolved very quickly about how we were going to help and how we needed to do it, and then getting information, sharing it back, and sharing with the chief, and just letting her know at the time what's going on, what's the current day thing. And we also learned as an organization the importance of scaling up, command control, and all those kind of key kind of structural pieces, right? We were just like a bunch of people, have a bunch of good skills, you know, techies, project management, all those kind of skills, and we're just trying to figure out how do we get there. A lot of the key things too was the Canadian Rangers, right? They were a huge help and support at that time, working with the people. The OPP, the Pikangikum Police, huge. The teachers at the school, huge help, right? And what we have here on the upper right-hand part of the thing is Jonathan Gregg, Chief at the time, Anda Senowop, Gabriel Moose, and Deputy Chief Jonas Strang. And of course, Peoc there, a fellow there, Canadian Rangers there at the time, from them. And of course, some of the tech staff, and of course, the Canadian Rangers there from Pikangikum. It was a total team effort. Now, just to kind of put in some perspective, right? People think you fly them out and everything's cool. Oh, man. So we spent about 7 days getting them out of the community, right? Because we were a threat and we were just busting our butt trying to do whatever we could. And now for a host capacity, host communities, you know, what happens then? And we were also there directly help supporting, working with them on a daily basis, because Pikangikum, there's lots of moving pieces, lots of challenges, lots of moving activities, and that activity kind of went to the other host communities. So that was another 2.5, 3 weeks. And then how it works for airlift kind of evacuations, if it takes 7 days to get them out, it's at least double the time to bring them back. So these poor people were gone from their community for about 5 to 6 weeks. And no disrespect to the Hudson Bay, James Bay coastal communities doing those, unfortunately, evacuations on an annual basis. This was the first time for Pikangikum in like 30 years. And 30 years ago, Pikangikum to 2019 Pikangikum was a very different animal. A lot of the community members had never left the community before. Ojibwe is the first language. All the kids, right, all spoke Ojibwe first, no English. So here we are. I'm from Big Trope. I don't speak the language. It's very strong. And these little kids are just whistling at me, just talking. I'm just going, holy cow. The reality, too, was we had serious challenges about just the number of the growth and the number of kids, but also the one story, right? There was a grandmother. She had a little duffel bag, you know, things that you and I carry, a backpack, and then a baby in one arm, right? And right behind her was 18, 17, 16, 15, 10, 12, 5, 6, 8 grandkids. That was one family unit walking together towards the bus to get onto the Herc kind of thing. And we learned a lot of lessons. I can speak to many stories about the uniqueness of Pikangikum in terms of, you know, all those kind of moving pieces and doing it real time and doing it for the first time. So we got them all back home safe 5 weeks later, right? We did have one unfortunate fatality. Kelsey Strang, she passed away in Cochrane, and that was due to a pedestrian kind of situation on the highway, and it was a tragic story kind of thing. But it wasn't due directly to the evacuation, the host community, and of course bringing them home. It was just one of those horrible situations. We got him back home. We thought to God, man, that was crazy. That will never happen again. 3 weeks later, we got the call and said, hey, Matt, we got to do this again. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So we did that same thing all over again. And it was wild, right? And what was unique about, there's a whole bunch of unique things from the first one and the second one, but the second one was we filled up all the host capacity in Ontario, right? Everywhere we filled up, right? Spillage went into Manitoba, 400, 500 people there, right? So evacuation 2 came around. Everybody was tired from the first one. Manitoba at the time was lighting up in their region, so everyone from the north of Manitoba was coming into Winnipeg, so nothing there. We scrambled, and then Efton became a host within a host and snuck in 700 people into Thunder Bay without the municipality knowing. That's a different discussion. They were a little colorful with that kind of approach because, you know, they don't usually like that kind of stuff, but we did it. Wink, wink. So if there's some municipal folks from Thunder Bay in here, just those are old days there, so we're all same team now. If you know what I mean. But they were very pleasant, very supportive, right? But then we realized too is, you know, where do we put the other 500 we need to do right now? Thankfully at the 9th, 12th, 15th hour, Saskatchewan opened their doors and they accepted 700 people into Regina, right? And again, you know, without those people, those groups and the partnerships, right, this wasn't possible. And a lot of credit goes to everybody and the PIOC calls and the feds, and just, it was crazy times. I can go on for stories, and Colin has the PTSD that we all kind of dealt with kind of thing, and still, you know, but we do it for love, we do it for what we have to do, we do it to kind of help people and keep them safe, and that's our job, right, the Tribal Council. And as we all do from whatever Tribal Councils in Ontario, 16 of us, 66 in Canada, everyone's trying their best, right? Lessons learned. We learned we were getting our butts kicked on the first one in terms of the information, and what we realized is that we had to develop IMS, simple stuff, but I can tell you, command structure, know your role, know your place, logistics, finance, admin, planning. I can't speak enough. When you're scaling up 10, 20 people a day in terms of getting people out and then scaling up in the host capacity in host communities, you can't do it fast enough doing it wishy-washy. Some of the things that people don't know, I haven't shared, is that, geez. So me and the deputy commanders, we were sitting there talking on 6:37 in the morning on evacuation 2, right? And we're sitting there, I'm in the community, no, John's in the community, Nick's out west, I'm in Thunder Bay, and we're having our first morning calls, and basically it says, hey, did anyone die last night? That's how we started our meetings, right? About just the amount of kind of activity was happening and just the amount of things that were happening, not just in the community, but in the host communities. And we spread 3 different provinces. Filled up Ontario again, filled up Saskatchewan, filled up Thunder Bay. We were busy. Second time. So we learned that in order for us to handle the magnitude and the issues and the communication and try and do our best, we had to figure out things and do it differently. And I can tell you, yeah, if we had a little guy here doing things, without IMS, man, we would have been sunk. Another thing, municipal host communities are our allies, are our friends. They do a tremendous job for us and with us, right? And without their help and their activities and support, we would have been screwed, right? So, I just want to let you guys know is that, relationships, partnerships, it's a stressful time for everybody when those things are happening. But I know when those meetings are happening, the POC, the one-on-ones, the group, the small ones, everyone's trying their best. And, they have our bureaucracies and checks and balances, but we're all doing, and we're all doing it to try to save people and keep people safe. And that's what we do, right? But without host capacity and a place to go and have people have shelter, we're really thinking. Now, what really scared me was 2021, right? The whole country was burning. And what I can say is, if we don't start thinking and planning and climate change and stuff, right, we got some serious issues, whether it's in rural community, south community, man, there are some crazy things happening. I don't know about you, climate is changing, the weather is changing, things are hotter, longer, that kind of thing. It's lots of moving pieces, and I can tell you without partnerships, we're going to have a hard time. Know your place. Basically, yeah, I was the one that was working with chief and the council on that spreadsheet, right, kind of thing. And it just basically was us just trying to figure out how do we help support, how do we communicate. We let chief and council just deal with the inter-community things. That was busy enough for 4,000 people. And when I say 4,000, it's not just, a little Facebook post. This is active governance, leadership at its best, right? We were given the responsibility to work and liaise with the different groups, federal government departments, provincial groups, to do whatever we had to do, the media kind of thing, right? We did all that, and we tried our best, and we did a pretty good job. The most thing we realized, you got to be present. You got to have representation. You got to have boots on the ground. You got to know part of those early morning wake-up calls in those meetings, right? You got to get the real information of what's happening last night, what are the plans, what are the activities. And when you're spread across 3 provinces for 5-6 weeks, it is crucial, right? So the story just keeps getting better, eh? It's just, wow. Pikanchicum 1, Pikanchicum 2, 2019, social emergency, the house fire in Big Trout. And what do we have here? 2021. So during that, I'll use that word, lull between 2019 to 2021, it wasn't a lull. We were just busy working, doing things. And I was kind of really pressuring our group and our staff and saying, what are we doing, guys? Where are we going? House fire. So what you see in this picture is this is the fatal house fire kind of thing, and in Pikanchicum. And we're trying to figure out what do we do. Like, this is just never ending in the stories, and the grief and the pressure. This is so wrong. So I kind of went to our group, our IES department, and our techies, and I said, got to do things different, guys. We got to find a way. We got to quit the nonsense, right? Yes, we would love to have a traditional fire department, fire truck in each and every community, and a volunteer force that can respond like that, which you and I all enjoy from wherever we typically are, south, I'll say, municipalities, this and that, some communities, but there's never enough people, right? The resources. So we're sitting there, again, we're far north, right? You know, no one's coming to save us, no one's coming to help us. They do, it takes them a while to get there, right? So we had to improvise, and I said, quit with the idea of trying to go for a government to ask for this stuff. We're going to get there someday, but today, maybe in a year or two, yeah, but today and tomorrow, we got to do something right now. So we kind of looked at the different options, and we realized, hey, we got to go in a different direction, right? You know, smoke detector, some 3 things there, truckless, traditional, and then eventually all hazards. So this is a model strategy we're working through kind of thing, but here's the bit of the innovation piece. So when we talk about tragedy and grief and crap and everything else, innovation does come into play, because when you're motivated and you're getting your butt kicked and people are upset and chiefs are saying, hey, why are we still doing this, as we hear all the time, here's some simple innovation. So I don't know if you know what these things are. Well, obviously, fire extinguisher. This thing in the yellow kind of thing is, all these are smoke grenades. And this red thing, it's basically kind of a size of my laptop kind of thing. And what these things do is that in the far north, there's no fire department. Police capacity comes and varies, right, kind of thing. In our groups, in some of our communities, most of them, the first responders, chief of council, they're the ones running into the building and see what's going on, because everyone's calling them, and 911 dispatch, it's a bit sketchy. Police, everyone's trying to do their best, but who responds first? Usually our leadership, some of our peacekeepers, some of our frontliners, right? They're not equipped and have the tools and equipment to jump into a fire, put the bunker gear on, CBA, and run in. It doesn't exist. It'll get there eventually, but it's not, and we all know with fire, those first few minutes, crucial. So, we're using this stuff, and here is unfortunately a situation, another fire, but with this one, we deployed those simple little tools, the grenades, right? So basically it's a grenade, you literally pull a pin and you throw it through a window, and it takes out the oxygen. It's more of a point of thing. So if you were to get 3 of those grenades, 3 or 4 into a room, it will suck the air out, right? So for all of you who knows how to do fire, make a fire, you need, this is a test here now, you need, in order to make fire, because we all do that, right? What do you need? Tom, help me out here. Fuel, yeah. What else do we need? Oxygen and? Oh, you guys are so good. I'll help you out. Spark, right? Ignition, some part. So if you need those 3 things, you need all 3. So what those apparatuses do is they take away the oxygen. It snuffs it out. It's not going to, if you're walking, it's not going to harm you, but it takes away the oxygen. So when you have the doors closed and confined, throw stuff through the window, it will buy you time. So when the guy with the truck, who's a one-man show typically with the hose from the outside, no bunker gear, we have a chance. This is what happened, right? It's possible. So, when I talk about fires, these things happen quite a bit in our communities, right? February 2022, this structure, which was a fatal one on the left in the blue, burned for 3 days. And the reason why it burned for 3 days and stuff is we were actively, our integrated emergency services, our firefighters working with the community firefighters, we're actively trying to preserve the scene to make sure that it wasn't compromised for the fire marshal to come in. And they did a hell of a job, but it burned for 3 days, right? July 2023, right? The fire was out in 60 minutes, grabbing that stuff, tossing it through the window. I'm not quite sure if it was the firefighters or chief of council, whoever, right? They had the equipment in their trucks, and they threw it through the window, and it preserved and kept it isolated to that one room. And the technology speaks for itself, right? And it's simple stuff. Now, it doesn't, I'm not saying we don't take away from fire trucks and fire halls, and believe me, but this is the best we got. Actually, I gotta go back here. Can I go back? Yeah, I can. And I know I told him I put him on the spot. I'm gonna do it right now anyways. The guy at the back of the bus, the handsome guy, everyone's looking at each other, kind of going, I think he's talking to me. Yeah, Roland's looking to the left. Roland, you mind standing up there, Roland? Yeah, Roland. Yeah, Roland. Yeah, stand up. So that's the Naps police chief there. You know, he's the one that kind of helps. Yeah, there we go. Give him a round of applause. And what we're doing is working with the different fire chiefs that provide services in far north communities about deploying these assets, giving them training, giving them support, because these gentlemen, right, the police officers, they're also ones the first on the scene. So if we can get them, support them, the tools to do this stuff, we can save more lives. Because right now, most of our far north communities do not have active fire capacity, right? Firefighting capacity. Okay, so that's all the fun stuff there, kind of thing. What we're also doing in the Integrated Emergency Services Program is we're actively figuring out how do we use technology. And yes, you've heard this song before. It's about GIS and smoke detection. So this is a picture of a, Jesus, I'm going to say it's a muskrat dam with all those green dots. So what those green dots represent is houses that have a smoke detector physically installed and verified by our team, right? And Muskrat Dam, the people on the bottom right picture there, that's the happy picture of 100% compliance of having every house have a smoke detector, right? And I know we've been involved in many programs, initiatives about trying to do this. This team and the community made it a priority to make it work, right? I know people think, how hard is it to get this? You know what? Hey man, we all burn wood up there. People get frustrated by things smoking off because of this. They don't want it. Now, education, awareness, yes, that's what it's all about. So here's a kind of quick snapshot about the current progress as of November. Here we are with some of the things in terms of green is good, red is not so good, but here is, you know, given to houses but not verified in terms of installed. We got some work to do, right? Now keep in mind, the scale of Pekanjikum is huge here now. We got like 4,000 people, 300 plus homes. There's lots of moving pieces over there, but we are actively working to resolve that and get that kind of, those numbers more into that proper green. So, I'm almost done. Getting tired here. This is deep stuff, eh? So what have we been doing? The quick recap, eh? We got the social emergency in 2019, evacuations 1 and 2. We launched this IFNA emergency services. We did the COVID vaccination operation in remote community. And what that means with that is that we were directly involved in the vaccinations of our communities, directly with them, with the different groups out there, whether it was the feds, ISC nurses, the SLIFNA. We were working side by side, right? It wasn't us just kind of sitting, doing a call and say, hey, do you need some more food? No, our staff, our health crew, our nurses, our people were part of that, directly involved, right? Yeah, you know what, 2021, you know, we had Pekanjikum 3. Oh man, the brutal. Third time around, all over again. You know, so, when we talk about evacuations, right, this is pretty intense stuff. We started this drone innovation piece about how do we kind of figure out what to do with this, and the 9/11 project and developing that. 2022, through some kind of skillful negotiations, we were able to kind of get some donated ambulances from the local services board in our area to get 2 ambulances into Pekanjikum. Now, for all of you who don't know, if I make a quick show of hands, when you have a problem in your house, a heart attack, this and that, break a bone, you call an ambulance. Does an ambulance show up? Quick show of hands there, just if you don't mind. Just humor me, please. So if you call 911, is an ambulance going to show up? Yeah, okay. Not for everybody in the room, right? So, how it works for remote communities typically is that there's a nursing station, there's personnel, and there's a huge gap in our communities about how do we get someone who has hurt themselves from a home or somewhere to the nursing station, and then from the nursing station to the medevac at the airport, right? 2 huge gaps. And typically, what we are doing primarily, and not just ethnic communities, but other communities, people are being transported from severe trauma, physical trauma, whatever, back of a truck. -30, back of a truck. Waiting for an aircraft, in the back of a truck. I don't know about you, but man, if you're all banged up and you got some serious thing, you got the oxygen tank, you got this going on, you got wires, do you really want to be doing that in the back of a truck? The answer is no. However, this is a reality our communities face right now. So we did this kind of thing in partnership, and we were able to get 2 donated ambulances to Pekanjikum. And that kind of started and springboarded our paramedic program in terms of how do we fill a need in the Pekanjikum, but also our communities, and trying to figure out how do we start this thing. And that's what was a trigger initiator about bringing the awareness, but also we all knew it was there, but the thing is, not everybody in the province or nationally knew. So part of this thing too, we're all about, you know, trying to deal with the fires. We're doing this innovation, simple stuff. We're really trying, also, this past summer, we developed and are working to developing our own forest firefighting crews for our communities. Now, again, everyone thinks, well, the MNRF has their forest firefighters, right? Yes, they do. But I'll be honest with you, they're at a 20% reduction in terms of people they need to help fill their ranks, right, for their annual needs, right? I don't know about you, but when the rest of the country and the province is lighting up, right, sometimes the little remote communities in the far north kind of get forgotten about and kind of get pushed back a little on the priority. And we are taking advantage and initiative to make that our problem, come up with our solutions, develop our own capacity so we can have our own resources at the community level to protect and shelter in place, do whatever needs to be done, right? And the biggest thing in there is kind of doing all this stuff, doing the smoke detectors, the proactive stuff, the simple stuff, the education of the schools, all those kind of simple things. We all take for granted, but for us, where we are, we're doing our best. So, yeah, we're a busy group, you know. Everyone's saying, oh, it's the IFNA show, right? But, you know, none of this stuff is possible without hardworking people, passionate people, people driven to try and help out and identify gaps, but come with solutions and options, right? Partners from the different province, the feds, everywhere, right? There are many, many partners helping us kind of deal with this moving pieces, you know? So we are doing a hell of a job trying to figure out how do we do it and trying to build capacity. How do we fill the gaps with the paramedics and the ambulance and stuff, right? And then, you know, here's another kind of unknown fact is that other part of my job and another time during another situation there, we're also kind of in charge of, IFNA, in charge of the Pekanchikam nursing station security. You know, it doesn't seem like much, but I can tell you when things get interesting and other initiatives, it is very crucially important. So we're actively doing that. And again, remember, this didn't exist a couple of years ago, constantly evolving. We've been piecemealing things together, funding, you know, but we're really trying to focus on trying to show results, show capacity, show commitment, but also kind of show for all of us, we can do it too. You can do it. Now, is it easy? Is it without pain and suffering and all? Yeah, it's quite the journey. However, it's an important one. I really encourage all of you. Now, before I kind of shift it over to Linda, you know, I don't need to introduce this young lady. She's been around your block and your area a lot of time, and thankfully, I'm blessed to have her come join me and help me on this journey of helping Nicholas Rhone, his team, and the rest of our chiefs in supporting us about how do we move some of these things forward. So I really appreciate you kind of just holding the applause, because it's not about this or that, but just kind of giving her a chance to kind of share some of this stuff. So thanks.
I know you want to give him an applause. That was good. Honey bonjour, everybody. My name is Linda Debassige, and I'm from Chiging First Nation. I've been with IFNA now for 40 days, so about 200 hours. I want to preface that Mr. Hoppe, my boss amongst the chiefs who are my bosses now, has been trying to get me to work for IFNA for about 5 years. So, and another funny story, I was a student at Thunder Bay Confederation College, and in his past life working for OFNTSC, I was told, go see Matt Hoppe at OFNTSC and tell him you want to volunteer. I said, okay, so I went over, met this man, I said, I'd like to volunteer, and he says, okay, how much do you want? And I'm like, free? Volunteer? Last I checked. But anyway, he was an educated man, so I thought, you know, okay. So during that time, I would go and help out at OFNTSC with the little bit I knew, and I recall one time I went to see my boss, right? Again, I'm not being paid here, with a situation, a kind of a question, and you know, I asked him the question, and he's like, okay, and what do you want me to do about it? I was like, oh, okay. He's like, you know, when you come and see me, you need to come with me, you need to come to me with solutions, not your problems. And I'm like, whoa, you know, college kid. I was like, okay then, okay, Matt, thanks, and I walk out of his office and I go into mine, I close the door, and I start crying, and I'm like, I don't want to get fired. And then I'm like, well, I can't get fired because I'm doing this for free. I call that moment a moment of one of my greatest life lessons. And then why I say that, you know, my little crying fit there was only ego being destroyed, but was also a realization and rebirth as to no matter what I need to do, no matter who I work for, I need to think about potential solutions and I need to propose them. I can't sit there and, you know, go to people with my problems. And I recently lost my election in Chiging, which is actually an incredible opportunity to help others. It's something I've been passionate about for years, helping many communities along the way, many members. And if any of you were in the room yesterday with the mental health presentation by Michaela Patterson, I was one of those people that chanted for the people, right? It was always for the people. So no matter where my journey takes me today, it's always for the people. No matter who we are, because as Anishinaabe Indigenous people, we all need the best support and help we can get. And I'm truly honored to be working with IFNA and the 5 communities that IFNA serves. We were asked to present on the integrated emergency services, and Matt did an excellent overview of a lot of the services that IFNA has developed and is starting to offer and is starting to, you know, build community. One of the really important reasons why I chose to work with IFNA is they put communities first and tribal councils second. How do we build and empower communities to really manage their own? You know, as Indigenous people, we come from a history of, you know, intergenerational trauma, of being oppressed, of being told what to do by different levels of government. And now we bring ourselves to this, and I really believe our communities have the capacity, have the resiliency, have the know-how to manage different things in the communities. And we're there to help build that, and to build that hope, to build that pride, to build that continued strength that our communities have demonstrated over many years. Matt started, I believe, with the first slide being the pig fire. So prior to that, there was another pig fire back in 2016. And it was a fatal house fire. There was also a fatal house fire in Oneida around the same time. So that precipitated a call to the Office of the Chief Coroner to examine the fire deaths in Ontario. Part of those findings is that 70% of the 70% of the fires, fatal fires in Ontario occurred in the colder months, the colder winter months. And 86% of those fatal fires occurred because there were no smoke alarms. And so when we look at our communities who, you know, 2 are of road access, but others are with remote access, a lot of that emergency preparedness, the education, our communities weren't supported with. And with the introduction of the Office of the Chief Coroner's report, that gave an opportunity, I think, to northern communities to be able to advocate for the needs they need in their communities. Fire. Many of us in the south, we can, like Matt had said earlier, we can pick up the phone, call 911. They answer, please fire ambulance. Well, we can't do that in the north. The other thing with fire is that in the colder months, the temperatures are so low that the fire trucks don't work. The water freezes up. So our communities have had to adapt to utilize different resources and newer technologies to address this, but more importantly, build capacity within the communities to build our youth into becoming interested in, you know, helping to provide these emergency services. So truly, what IFNA is doing is First Nation led. It's First Nation led because IFNA believes that each and every one of the communities to which we serve have the ability to take care of their own. And that's really important coming from a lens of sovereignty, the strengths of our people, and we just come in to help facilitate those opportunities as well. Matt touched on the, I think, integrated pieces around the Safer and Wiser campaign. the smoke alarm campaign. He showed the deck, which is absolutely phenomenal. I come from a southern community, and they've been doing this fire detector stuff since, I think, early 2000s. And still, I could say even my community doesn't have that many smoke alarms. So that's an amazing feat, with the acceptance of the people, allowing IFNA and others and their supports within the community to come into their homes to provide them with, essentially a life-saving device. In the last couple of weeks, Nick Rhone, who's our fire guy, he's been helping all communities and really to build up the paramedicine program, right? To really further integrate these services to allow communities to help save lives, so that their capacity has continued to be built, that we can provide those services within. There are many challenges in accessing medical services, and Matt talked about the usage of pickup trucks, putting a person in the back. In the south, we're not used to that unless we're doing some work in the bush and we have to throw someone on a skidder to get them out to a trailer. And trust me, I've done that before in a past life when I worked, in roadless areas. But in the south, we definitely take that for granted, as do our people. And it's pretty amazing to see and to experience this level of integration. It's our first responders, like our police officers, who are providing life-saving services to individuals who are going through that. Our firefighters who are building up their capacity in several different ways. And I know a week and a half ago, we were up in Lac Seul with Chief Clifford Bull's community, basically showing the Emergency Management of Ontario Commissioner what our communities of IFNA have the ability to do in the event of emergency. So we had firefighters there, we had paramedics, we had police, we had individuals we've trained over time to be able to provide this, and utilizing tech, drones, GIS, everything in live and real time, really demonstrates the advancement our communities have supported, our learning, and that continued growth that needs to happen. In the last 2 days, our IFNA team has experienced 3 fires again, and that's only in the last 2 days. To our team, to the members of our community, the importance of emergency management and preparation are basically life and death. And what we need moving forward is the continued support of the partners. We've had existing partnerships with Indigenous Services Canada, EMO, so many to mention. We have, the municipal partners, which IFNA has maintained good relations with to support any evacuations, and having the ability to coordinate the largest, events with our communities is not an easy feat. And what I don't think Matt talked about was the after effects, bringing our people back home. There's trauma there. For some who've never left the community once, this is the first time they've been going out. They're going out not knowing what their experience is going to be in that 5 weeks, right? And, lessons learned to do things better is critically important as we see these events happening more and more with climate change, the increase of forest fires, and now we're looking at, because of changes in regulations, we're looking at even forest fires not being able to be flown anywhere because of the lack of pilots, right? There are so many other factors that impact these initiatives that most people in the South take for granted, and a lot of people within government don't see daily. So again, the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office as well, Emergency Management Ontario, ISC, and most importantly, the people of our communities, KI, White Sand, Lac Seul, Pikangikum, and Muskrat Dam. If it weren't for the people, IFNA wouldn't be here. If it weren't for the people, IFNA would not have this passion. If it weren't for the people, IFNA would not be working this hard. So I'm also grateful to IFNA, and we look forward to ongoing support by both levels of government to allow us to help continue to build our communities, to help save lives, and you know, looking at other areas where we can improve, like building in the mental health aspect during these times. As Matt said, you know, the fire in KI impacted the entire community. And that's what's beautiful about these communities. Their interconnectedness, their support for one another is just phenomenal. So yeah, and I think I covered it all to wrap it up. So we are thankful that you've attended our presentation. I hope you feel that there is a sense of opportunity, but for those who may not be remote First Nations as well, I think it's equally important that we all build our communities, whether we have road access or not, build our youth to become first aid responders in those times, because I know even in my community, you know, we do have a lot of issues with cardiovascular health, you know, the cancers, all of those things, and we need to prepare ourselves and our families for those moments when an ambulance can't get there. And also for those who don't have access to an ambulance, how do we build that to save lives? And we can't do it alone. Nobody can, and we do appreciate those support from our partners, and a miigwech to our leadership with our IFNA communities. Miigwech.
This is a closed session. There's no questions, so you can leave now. If any questions, comments, feel free. There's a microphone there, so. Oh, good. Thank God. I was like, oh, no. Thank you very much for coming. Where's the cowboy kid there with the honorarium? No. So I just want to say, you know, you can't say it better than Linda. I almost said Chief Linda, but I get in trouble for saying that kind of stuff because, you know what, well, how's the saying go? Once chief, always chief kind of thing. But more importantly, it can be done. Change is all within us. It's possible, but it's a lot of hard work and perseverance, but more importantly, has to come from the community, right? And then it's people like us that are there to help facilitate, be a resource for a period of time, and to be honest, get the heck out, so.
Just one more thing I forgot to acknowledge, the IFNA team, during the evacuations and the situations that you saw presented today, some of them didn't even see their family for over 20 days. So it's also their dedication, you know, and even when they saw their family, they're worried about the people, right? And we all know how that is when we're with our family and we're spaced out, right? So I just want to also acknowledge the team at IFNA. I do know during those times, I know Matt did reach out to me when I was chief, and just to vent, like just to talk, and you know, do you know anybody who can help us? So that's what I forgot to touch on, was the importance of relationships across. And that's the importance of leadership as well, no matter which community, to always be there for others who need that support.
Yes, sir. Who are you? Name and organization, please.
Yes. Actually, Matt and I go way back to our time in Sioux Lookout. So Matt, I just got to commend you for the work you've done at IFNA. I know prior to these incidences, I know many of our communities in the NAN territory are not prepared for any type of emergency response, and that's why we rely on PEOC and, you know, what PEOC brings in for those services. You indicated on the fire suppression equipment. Can you share with us the costs of that fire suppression equipment? Because again, I know Nick has shared with NAPS, and I'll tell you, what Matt hasn't said is that the OPP police the 4 communities out of the 5 that IFNA represents. Muskrat Dam falls under Anishinaabe Police. And the 34 communities that Anishinaabe Police is in the Anishinaabe Nation territory. So I've just had some stats on house fires. Going back to just to 2020, we've had over 40 in the communities that we police. And out of those 40, we've had 10 fatality deaths. That's just going back to 2020. There were a lot of deaths related to house fires prior to that. So Matt, I really got to commend you for the work, and your team at IFNA for getting this in place, especially the fire department. That is absolutely critical to saving lives. And the fact that IFNA made this presentation to the Indigenous Police Chiefs of Ontario recently, and we were not aware, and I know, I can't speak for my colleagues, but I know for us at NAPS, we were not aware of this fire suppression equipment. And this is something I know that we need to save lives in our community. So I just got to commend you and IFNA for all the great work you're doing for your communities, and hopefully this spreads across Ontario, because this will save lives. I know we want this in our police vehicles. We need this in our police vehicles because it will save lives. So Matt, I just want to say that. Congratulations on the great work that IFNA is doing. And I know that hopefully the other communities and tribal councils will follow suit with creating those emergency departments, because I know Mattawa has them, Mushkegowuk has them, Waban I know in some of our communities, but many of our communities do not have this type of emergency response. And I just want to say great work. Okay?
Thanks, Roland. Yeah, this is not possible without people and Nick and his crew. This is all their crazy hard work and innovation. I'm just the guy at the front that gets to share the story and the vision, but also the results. So, simple numbers, right? Those little cans there kind of thing. $250. So if you want to go for a nice dinner in Toronto, you get one of those, you get 5 or 6 of those, you can stop a fire in a house. That bigger kind of metal, like a little kind of laptop thing, $1,000. So I'll be honest, and of course fire extinguishers, right? We're in Lac Seul, as Chief Linda mentioned, Linda mentioned, is Chief Bull, hey, I want one, Matt. Or sorry, I want one, Nick. Nick goes and grabs it and says, here you go. Because to be honest, in our communities, I don't know, it's for most of you, the chief and the counselors are actively responding. And so, yeah, did some training, gave it to him. It's sitting in his truck right now, right? And I can tell you, this stuff works, right? It buys us time. It gets people time to get the heck out, minimizes, salvages. Like, you know what? We're really good in the far north about salvaging the strip footings. That's what we do, right? This is giving us a fighting chance on a whole different level. So a little bit of investment, a little bit of money. This is not, again, doesn't take away from the bigger infrastructure piece and everything, but this is a true stopgap kind of approach. So any further questions and comments? I know it's been a busy 2 days here. Just want to say oh yes, Auntie Diane. Give that lady a microphone. No, save her knees.
Yeah, save her knees.
That's interesting. They both know I got bad knees. I was wondering, what's the potential for doing multi-unit purchases and going through to a corporation, the corporation that creates or makes smokes, this equipment, and seeing if we can leverage some money that we have on hand to purchase more units. I did it years ago with IBM on computers, and that maybe we can connect it up with a nonprofit initiative and share the success of it, you know, and what kinds of impacts it has over time. So just a suggestion that you might want to look into, that, you know, companies may very well cost share with you if you're buying large unit, like a multitude of units, and given what the young man had to say there about the many losses of life, you know, especially for our 2 independents, White Sand and KI.
No, thank you. I couldn't agree with you more in terms of the approach and the suggestion. Is the stuff we're actively working on, thinking about, and trying to pilot right now. And again, talking with Roland and NAPS and different OPP, you know, it's simple work, simple solutions, and you know what? Anyone can go and throw this through a window and buy us some time, and that's the true goal and opportunity. So, yes, yes, we do for sure. I couldn't agree with you more. And that, I'll be honest with you, that's what it took. Was we've talked about this many times, different times, about getting detectors, but you can't just get them. You got to get them installed, right, and verified. And that's the part we kind of have in the past fell down a little bit. So that's where, I'll be honest with you, where that discipline and hard work and perseverance and dedication comes in, so. Wow, it's a tough room, jeez. Was it that bad? It's okay. You guys can go, it's hot in here. You got any questions, come on up to the front. I'd be happy to give you my fake cell phone number and away we go. Thank you.